Greetings, everyone. Once again, it's Motamwanidi sharing the authentic truth brought to us by Zulula 100, the only teacher. And here, the teaching I will give in English, I will share in English, is going to be regarding the origin of the races, the origin of races. Now, I already shared the teaching. It was a sort of the part one, and it was the origin of the white race. And I used the current classic day Bible. I also used the book of Enoch to show in the presentation. Now here we shall go into Bibèl, Katambali, the book of the truth, because Bibèl is the precision, is the only authentic Bible in the world without any errors or contradiction. So, for that, we go in Origin chapter 6, verse 1 to 3, and then we shall go into Origin chapter 7. Now the title of Origin 6 is Corruption of Earth's First Men by Bamuloloma Bungulane, Fallen Angels. It says here in verse 1, and I'll translate here in English for us. However, when the first men, that is to say the blacks, So you're told here that when the first men, because black people were the first people on earth, anyone that will tell you otherwise is a liar. Even the scientists agree that black people were the first people on earth. So, when the first men, because Bibèl is the precision, because in the current classical Bible, they try to erase the trace of black people in the text. But Bibèl is here to put things back in order. However, when the first men, that is to say, the blacks, began to multiply on all the face of the earth, and they had begotten black daughters, beautiful and elegant, having an incredible beauty from the soles of their feet to the summit of their heads, we found in them, no bodily defect, period. So you're told that when black people began to multiply, and they were black women as well, and you're told that these black women, they were beautiful, elegant, with no defect. Verse 2, they were perfect in beauty, so they were perfect. And that's natural beauty. So beautiful that they were pleasant to see, period. No other terrestrial creature except Moto and Muto, so that's the first man and the first woman, and those directly descended from Muto was comparable to them in beauty, period. So you're told here that these black women were very beautiful, perfect in beauty. Verse 3, they appeared like the dawn, and the outline of their hips could destabilize any uninitiated man who would have set the sight on them, period. Now, we go in Bibotedi Origin chapter 7, and that's the title is Introduction of Other Races. Verse 1, it says, at this precise epoch, so at that time when you're told that these beautiful women were there, blacks, so because the earth, it was only black people at that time. So there were no other race, no whites, and so on. No, it was only black people, and they were all over the earth, because that's why you're told all on the face because it was one continent, one block. So that was before the drift of the fragment of the continent. So at that precise epoch, a group of Bamulolomambungulane fallen angels among the troop of Satan, the Mundimabobe evil spirit, emanated from the spiritual world, So you're told that a group of Bamulolomambungulane fallen angels, because they already had fallen, they were already cast out of the great order of things. And you're told it was a group. So it's not all of them, not all the fallen angels, but a group of them among the troop of Satan, because Satan is their leader. And Satan is not an angel, he's a cherubim, but he's their chief. So you're told, among the troop of Satan, the Mundimabube evil spirit emanated from the spiritual world, occult spiritual influence, which after having introduced hybridization with animals, so after having introduced, because they already came on earth, that group of fallen angels, and had relation, slept with the animals, some animals, and the union of the fallen angels and those animals, that's the demons. That's why you're told regarding the so-called siren, the mermaid, and many creatures like the centaurs and so on that are semi-men and semi-animals. That's their origin. That's hybridization. And those are the descendant of the fallen angels with the animals. So after they did that, you're told, considered that these uninitiated black girls from the lineage of Pongise Cain in sensitive form were beautiful and pleasant, So they considered that the uninitiated black woman, the beautiful black woman of the lineage of Pongise of Cain, uninitiated black woman of the lineage of Pongise Cain, in sensitive form were beautiful and pleasant, and became in love with them, and he began to conspire between them on these black women in order to unite as to generative faculties, So that group of fallen angels, they began to conspire. They began to plot in order to unite. So you're told here, they became in love with them. And began to conspire between them on these black women in order to unite as to generative faculties, to all those which pleased them by preference. Period. Verse 2. They said to one another, column, let us use our divine charm to unite with them, That's their plan. That's what they said. That's what they conspired. So let us use our divine charm to unite with them. And let's have children. Period. And the outcome of this union will give birth to a race which will have to submit the black people into servitude. Period. So that was their plan. That's what they said among themselves. Verse 3. These Bamuluruma Bungulane fallen angels were attracted and primed by their own lust. And at the very moment that this lust towards these uninitiated black women was conceived in the interior of them, their faculties wandered into their own thoughts. Period. Verse 4. Indeed, by fact of having been able to covet, Mundima be kokisedi, the entity of punishment in charge of the domain of nature, also delivered them to impurity according to the covetousness of their inner selves, selves, so that they themselves dishonored their own nature. Period. They were stricken with bewilderment, and they received in themselves the salary that their bewilderment deserves. As they did not care to honor their own rank once again, Mundima be koki se di, then delivered them to their reprobate senses to do unworthy things. Period. Verse 5. And having previously sinned before the creation of the visible, they were all deprived of the manifestation of the glory of Loba, by the verb of Loba. Period. Verse 6. Then these Bamululman Bungulane fallen angels descended and materialized in the form of black men, although they remained internally beings of lights whose seed, Jeme, was immediately denatured by the rebellion, and they each chose several uninitiated women by their enchantments. So we are told here that these fallen angels, because they were spirits, right? So they had to descend, they had to come on the earth and materialize in the form of black men. But because they were fallen angels, they remain, you're told, internally beings of lights. So spirits, whose Jeme seed, so their seed was immediately denatured by their rebellion. So because of their rebellion, even their seed was denatured. So verse 7, these women, so but before that you're told, by their rebellion, and they chose several uninitiated women by their enchantment. Period. Verse 7, these women did not resist these beings from elsewhere, although they had the power to do so. Period. So the uninitiated black women, they did not resist because they were seduced. But you're told that they had the power to resist. Verse 8. They conceived and gave birth to a new race, the whites, because of the disgraced nature, and the denatured seed of the Bamululoma Bungolane fallen angels. So because the fallen angels, their seed was already corrupted, denatured, that's why that also affected their descendant. So that gave birth to a new race, the whites. Chapter 7, verse 9 says, in the following, several uninitiated black women also gave birth to the race of mulatto, mixed bloods with whites. And part of the earth was completely soiled and corrupted by the presence of this new and pure race, So that's the origin of race. So the fallen angels with the uninitiated black women of the lineage of Pongise Cain, because their seed, the seed of the fallen angels was denatured, the black woman gave birth to a new race. And those were the whites. That's why you're even told, out of something impure cannot come something pure. Right? So, and then that's the whites, the white race. And after, many uninitiated black women also had relations with those whites. So with those and with those whites, and then give birth to, that's the mixing, the birth of the new race, the mulatto, the mixed bloods. And you're told that part of the earth was completely soiled and corrupted by the presence of this new impure race. So that's the origin of race. That's how it happens. That's the truth. Now, some of you who may be listening to the message may say, oh, if you're not black, you'll say, well, does this message or the teachings, can you still follow the teaching? Can you accept the message even though you're told here your origin? You have to understand that we are here in the time of grace. So if you like the truth, you like justice, you want to put into practice, you can accept the message, you can follow the message, listen to the teachings, and put in practice. But we still have to put things back in order. You have to accept the truth. Because if you disagree with the truth, that means you don't like the truth. And if you don't like the truth, so that's the message. Now, for those who accept, who have accepted, this message must not trouble you. Because it's simply, once again, putting things back in order. Because we have to know the truth. And the truth shall set you free. Set you free from the lies, from the misconception, from the false teachings of the false pastors out there. The false theories, the corruption, and so on. So, that was the message. That was the origin of race. All glory be to Lopa, the only and unique creator.